I just can't right now. So the Chargers game just ended, and as we do every week, we're gonna be doing immediate reactions to the game, and there's a lot of thoughts going through my head right now. Most of them aren't good ones. So Chargers lose 37-23 against the Seattle Seahawks. And for the most part, it wasn't a good game at all for the Chargers. They go down 17-0 to start the game, manage their way back, make it 14-17. Do a pretty decent job in the first half for the most part. You know, Chargers should have won this game. And it's simple. Chargers are going to Charger. I feel like every single year there's a game that the Chargers clearly should have won, and they were expected to win by pretty much everybody, and they lose and puts them in a bad spot. Chargers could have moved to 5-2 entering the bye week. Instead, they moved to 4-3 entering the bye week and have two big injuries in this game already. Earlier in the year, Jaguars, Chargers were expected to win this game, get blown out big time. This week, expected to beat the Seahawks, get blown out big time. I can't right now. And I don't know. I mean, you don't have to point fingers. I get it. Most of the time I try not to, but you got to start pointing fingers at this point. I mean, I've pointed at Joe Lombardi a lot, and I still think he's a big factor in it. This offense looked terrible. I mean, terrible the whole game. I mean, wide receivers were constantly covered because every single route was side by side with one another. Herbert looked completely lost because he had nobody to throw to because the plays were just poor. They were just poor plays being called, and even when there was opportunities, personnel wasn't doing the job. For Herbert wasn't getting time under pocket. Herbert was making bad reads. I mean, the interception he thrown was a terrible read. He expected Everett to go out. He doesn't. Herbert should kind of realize that right there about through his second interception. Herbert just looked lost. So I'm not even going to say this is just coaching. This is players as well. It is the golden child in Justin Herbert as well. It is the offensive line. It's the holding calls. It is, and that's just offense. I don't like Joe Lombardi, what he's been doing at all. He had 2 good weeks there. It's been terrible every other game. And I think the play calling this week was worse than last week. And that's saying something. Joe Lombardi needs to get out. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I like Staley a lot. And I think the team really is behind Staley and likes him a lot. And that's great. That's something that can keep a team together. But I think Staley stays. And this is just right now. This could change in a couple weeks. I could say, get rid of Staley. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in a couple weeks. But right now, keep Staley. You're entering your bye week. Make some big changes right now. Fire Lombardi. Fire the defensive coordinator at this point. Keep Staley. Bring everybody in. Have a week to kind of hammer some things out. Maybe don't change the whole playbook, but slowly over time. This team, even when banged up, has enough to be competitive team, a contending team. But right now with the coordinating, they do not. Now defensively, it's really hard to say anything because, they allowed 37 points, did I say? Is that what it was? Which is way too much. But the Seahawks were like the third best or first best offense since week 3. So it's not like the Seahawks weren't great. They have been very solid for the past couple weeks here. But allowing 37 is terrible. And most of these points, yards, all came from the rushing game. 72-yard touchdown allowed. But on the other side of the coin, the defense did look good. They got an interception very early on by Kenneth Murray, who I called on Twitter. Kenneth Murray was going to play a big game, and he honestly did. He had a lot of tackles for loss, interception, all this stuff. And the team was looking very, very good, but the offense wasn't able to do anything. And later in the game, you get I think it was a fumble recovery. Morgan Fox has some good tackles for loss. You have the safety in there. You have Asante Samuel breaking up a ton of passes. Almost got a second interception, but he doesn't maintain it to the ground. I mean, I think if there was a stat for most almost interceptions, Asante Samuel Jr. would be number 1, and he just needs to come down with them. This team is frustrating, to say the least. Coaching, players, all of it's getting really, really frustrating. I face this every single year, and for some reason, I still get my hopes up. And as a matter of fact, my hopes are still pretty high for this team. Yes, they're 4-3, but they're positive. It's a positive record. They're still second in the West. They're only 2 games back. I don't remember what the Chiefs' score was, but I assume they won because they were up like 2 touchdowns. So they're 2 games back. You face the Chiefs in Week 11. If you win that game, now you're one game back. You've seen the Chiefs to drop one more game. So my hopes are still pretty high, but you got to look at this team and kind of be a little bit worried. I don't like the play calling that's going on. I'm really starting to think that this defense issues in the run game is not a personnel issue. I think it's a coaching issue because you bring in Austin Johnson, you bring in Sebastian Joseph today. All these guys have been doing really, really good, but you're still getting run all over. I'm starting to think that it's a coaching and where you're putting players to put them in a spot to get these tackles, and you're bringing so many guys loaded to one side, and you see constant counters, and they get a ton of yards going the other direction. So I'm starting to think that defensively is a coaching issue too. Staley is a defensive-minded coach, and he's not doing great, but I do like what Staley's been doing coaching-wise, player-wise, keeping his team together, keeping their heads up. He's willing to put it out there. He believes in his team, and the team believes in him for the most part. But I think offense coordinator, defense coordinators gets out of here. Special teams honestly look pretty good for the most part, which is a good sign because most of the time that's the part that's lacking the most. But and more injuries. Dang gummit, more injuries. Keenan Allen played part of the game, was held out for pretty much the entire second half, I want to say. Maybe even most of the second quarter. So he didn't play much, but he did play. Michael Williams goes down with the injury. Looks like it's an ankle injury, maybe a high ankle sprain. Did not return to the game. You have a bye week. Maybe he can return for the next game, but kind of questionable because it did look pretty bad. He was in a lot of pain, and that ankle looked gnarly when it turned. J.C. Jackson goes down with injury. I am 90% sure, having dealt with one of those injuries myself, it is going to be an ACL and or one of the CLs, ACL, MCL, PCL, potentially the meniscus, although it didn't look like a meniscus tear. But I think it's the ACL. Goes up for it, jumps, and it looks like when he jumped, and we didn't have a good camera angle, so hopefully Brian Suter, go check him out. He might have a video on this. He's my guy for knowing what type of injury it's going to be and how long I can be out. Looks like when he jumped, if this is his knee, it looked like his knee either went back like this and, hyperextended, or it looks like it could have went out. Like I said, there's not a great camera angle, but if it went out, it's probably an ACL or one of the CLs. Not good news at all. So Keenan out, Mike Williams out, Herbert was getting banged up. He stayed in the game. Questionable for him staying in the game. Mike out, J.C. Jackson out. You got a ton of Drew Tranquil went out for a while after special teams. Chris Rumpf went out for a while after special teams play. I think it was the same play that both those guys went out. Lots of injuries still for this team. I'm just at a loss for words. I guess good things for this team. When healthy, Mike Williams was looking pretty good. Garrett Everett was still looking solid, although I wish he would have got more targets. Austin Eckler goes out and gets 2 touchdowns again. He's looking very, very solid. Asante Samuel Jr., I like what he's been doing. He allows 1 touchdown in the corner of the end zone. Not a big fan of that, but Kenneth Murray had a good game, I guess. Khalil Mack, fumble recovery, forget about that. Yeah, there's not a lot of good. I mean, I'm digging for good things. I'm frustrated. I'm not really a yeller post-game. I do during the game. My fiance would know that. I will yell during the game all the time. But after the game, I'm just kind of like, wow. Like, it hurt. It hurt to watch a lot. Truly hurt to watch a lot. I think it's time to make a change. So whether that's offense coordinator, defense coordinator, both, Staley, I'm not sure, but there needs to be a change in the coaching staff. Or the coaches that are in the coaching staff need to make a change by themselves. But bye week comes up. This is the perfect time to go out and get it. You come off that bye week, you win your game. Now you're 5-3. You're in a pretty decent position, and you're still right outside that number 1 spot. Lots of videos probably coming up. Likely gonna have the film recap this week. I didn't again last week. Lots of family personnel. If you don't follow me on Twitter, go ahead and I explain myself over there. But my family is expecting. Me and my fiance are expecting. So yay us. That's why I didn't have film recap. We had to go to the doctors a couple times. Team needs to make a change, whether it's coaching or players. Trade deadlines in the middle of this bye week. Maybe they go make a trade. They need to make a trade for a wide receiver, truly. Keenan Allen's still banged up. I don't know when his hamstring's going to be healthy. I don't know how long Mike Williams is going to be out. At the end of the game, you had Michael Bandy, who just got signed. You had DeAndre Carter, who has been pretty solid, but isn't your wide receiver one, and he is right now Jason Moore, I think is his first name. I know his last name is Moore. And that's your wide receiving core right now. It's not good at all. So you need to make a trade or make a move for a wide receiver. Maybe you take the risk and go get OBJ. I'm not quite sure, but you need a wide receiver. This team has to make a move. And now, before we end all this, I want to say, oh, by the way, I'm probably going to have a video on what's going wrong with this offense if I don't see that. I might really see, even if they get rid of Joe Lombardi, what do they need to do to fix the offense, whatever that video might be. And I'll probably have a video on trade deadline targets for the Chargers in the next week. I'll say not next couple days, but next week. Have that up soonish. But yeah, I'm flabbergasted. Team needs to make a change. And I still believe in this team. I think they're definitely a playoff team. They definitely should be. If it's not, then you got to clear house with all the coaches. But they're definitely a playoff team. Just got to make some changes. I think you fire a coach. I think you have to fire a coach this bye week to remind your team that we're trying to contend. Whomever it is, I don't care. Head coach, I would rather not be Coach Staley. I do like what he's doing. And I think the next option would be Peyton from the Saints. I think this offense ain't going to change if you bring in Peyton. So I don't really like the idea of Staley getting moved on right now. But you got to fire a coach. I think that will reinvigorate this team a little bit. Get healthy. This team, it can be a contender if it's healthy and the coaches get it together, but right now it's not really looking like it. So what do you guys think about this game? I'm very frustrated. I'm not happy about this at all, but got to be optimistic. This bye week can be a big help to get healthy and get things figured out. Maybe you go and get a winning streak. They were just on a 3-game win streak, so they have it in them, but you got to do something right now. What do you guys think? If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. Truly means the world to me, and it will help me get through this painful loss already. I hope it's awesome today. Hope I made you smile. Hope I made you laugh. I know it's very difficult after a loss, but I hope I helped you in some way. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.